folks, welcome back. Just a minute ago you saw me take the tractor and try to clear out this little corner here just a little bit. That's for good reason. Just as we were finishing up the last video, when I was in here with the mini excavator making trails, well, I ripped the track on the far side. And I didn't just rip it, I put the sprocket right down through the center. I don't know if we'll be able to see it, but on part of the track, right where the sprocket goes in the middle, it's split right down the middle, and so that track is no good. And so what I got to do is I got to get the machine out of here, and you saw me struggling to move it with the machine itself, and I couldn't even rotate that side of the track. And because I couldn't do that, and because it's such an uphill grade, I can't move the machine without some help. That's where the tractor comes in, or at least I hope. Today's going to be Operation Recovery, and as you can see, we got a bit of a straight shot from the tractor right down to the machine here. Underneath, you may or may not be able to see, but there's a hook there right on the underside of the undercarriage. We're going to hook the winch. That's the Wallenstein FX85. We're going to hook that up here to the mini excavator in a minute, and we're going to give it a pull. The only concern I have is this is very off camber. As you can see, the machine is really sloped, and I don't want the machine to get pulled too far that way, because then it might get hung up here. So if you look at where it's going to pull, I don't know, it's going to be real close. I have no access in that way to get a pull straight. So I think what's going to happen, we're going to pull. First and foremost, we're going to verify that the winch will pull it, which I'm sure it will. And once we're confident in that, we'll re-rig as best we can, and we'll try to get this sucker out of here. First things first, get it up to the top of the hill, and then we'll worry about getting it out of the woods. But this machine here, 1.5 tons, so we're floating in the 3,000 pound range. As I said before, that FX85, the Wallenstein winch, that is good for, I believe, 8,800 pounds. But it's never a matter of pull power, it's a matter of grip. That up there needs to dig in solid, the back blade on the winch, so that it'll get a good pull. And because it's uphill and there's a lot of friction, nothing's going to be rolling here. It's certainly going to be more than just the weight of the machine. It's going to be the weight of the machine plus the forces applied to it from the tracks rubbing on the ground, and well, we'll see what happens. Glad you guys are all here. Here we go. I actually was able to move my tractor over a bit. I pulled it off into the brush there. That hopefully will give me a better pull angle. See what happens. Oh yeah, this is what I'm going to be using here. So I have a snatch block, and this is going to go around that hook on the undercarriage. We'll run the cable back up to the tractor, so we have a multiplication of force, if you will. Well, let's hope this works. I don't want to get back under here. Okay. Gosh. That should be it. Let's hope. All right guys, so far so good. I'm not sure if you can tell or not, but the winch and the tractor aren't exactly struggling. We're sitting on idle, and with the pulley in there, the snatch block really doesn't have a problem at all. And that's quite the pull. Like, that's straight uphill, and that's a steep hill, and obviously nothing's turning here, so that's dead weight. Pulling it quite nice, and so I'm very happy with that. That winch, although I use it primarily for moving logs, I have pulled a number of vehicles out of the ditch, gone off my laneway, gone off the trail. I've pulled out heavy equipment obviously with it, and it's turned out to be quite the tool. So here's where we're at. What I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to unhook this and pull the tractor right to there. I don't want to pull the machine into the woods. I want to pull it up there to where it's flat. Once it's up there, I'm going to hook the tractor to it, hopefully lift just a little bit of it with the 3-point hitch, and then I'll drive it back to the shop. We'll see how that goes. I've towed this no problem with the tractor in the winter, but that was sliding over frozen ground. Now it's just dirt, so we'll see what happens. I know some of you out there will say, why don't you just rotate the machine? And I agree, you could do that, but then I got to warm the machine up, and I just want to do it this way. Okay, here we go. All right, folks, well, we made it back, and that wasn't much of a tow by any means for this tractor. This right here is a 2012 Coyote DK40 SC 40 horsepower tractor. It's got weighted tires back here, so it's full of rim guard. That is not that big of a pull for this thing. I pulled quite a bit more. As I mentioned before, it's a 1.5 ton machine, and obviously there's a bit of friction on the ground, so maybe a bit more than that. On the back here, the Wallenstein, the FX85, so that's an 8,800 pound pull. I'm not using the winch here, so I'm just using some choker chains. And if you wanted to see how I have it hooked up, you can see down there, I just got it hooked onto the ring on the undercarriage of the machine. And then I tried to space the chains down here evenly so it would pull it straight. Did pretty well. I also lifted up on the 3-point hitch there to try to take some of the weight off the back end. And that way it only pulled or dragged sort of on the front portion of the track. You'll notice the stick here, the bucket is relatively low. If things got squirrely when I was pulling up that hill with the winch, my idea was that that would prevent it from, you know, toppling over. That wasn't exactly the biggest pull in the world though with that winch, and I'm sure it was able to pull quite a bit more. Hooking up the snatch block to double up the pulling power helped, and I don't often do that with logs, but in this case it worked out quite well. So overall I had to drag it a fair distance, but nothing too bad. I have towed this before. One time I was using it in the middle of winter and the diesel gelled up on me. Yes, it gets that cold here, so the diesel gelled up on me, and it wasn't gonna start, so I towed it in the winter. But I can tell you, towing it across frozen ground with snow and ice is much easier than towing it across the soil. You can see where we came here. Towed it quite nice though. Wouldn't want to make a living doing this. It doesn't exactly steer well, but we got it back to the shop. Many of you will probably scratch your head and mention down in the comments that I should have just changed the track out in the woods. And I got to tell you, I'm all for doing work out in the dirt and wet and marshy areas, but I'm not going to do it if I don't have to. I had a bigger piece of equipment here, so I hooked her up, pulled her back to the shop. All my equipment's here, electricity, my air compressor, and all my hand tools. So this will make it much easier to do that replacement. And not to mention up here, I've got this solid floor here, although it's covered in dirt and debris. That's a rubber floor, so when I'm kneeling down, I'm not exactly going to get as dirty. That is, of course, if I wipe it off. As I said, this is the track that we're fixing. I'll put a little clip in this video showing exactly where the track ripped, but it ripped down the center. And this back sprocket, I'm not sure where exactly, but this back sprocket pushed right through that center section. And as a result, this track is locked up solid, so I had to skid it. As you saw, there was no way I was going to be able to roll that or move it. So you do what you can with what you have, and just be thankful when you have a larger piece of equipment than the one that broke down. Hats off to you, tractor. You earned your keep. As for this thing, the Takeuchi TB15, I kind of love to hate it, but I still love it. That's it for me here today. I appreciate you watching. Make sure if you have any questions or comments that go down below. And as always, please do me that favor. Give this video the like-a-roo. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.